mono red goblins. Take a look at their stats there. These players are no stranger to this game. Both of them ready to rock and roll. So let's jump in here into the upper quarterfinals. Take a look at this opening hand here. Gilded Goose, Woe Strider, and Bolas' Citadel. One of the only players on Jund playing the Bolas Citadel. So this should be a fun game to watch indeed.
This should be, and I mean, this is a great starting hand. Both players have taken these kind of more stock lists, you know, stock when I say Jund Sacrifice or Goblins, and they have both tried to speed them up by playing Ice Crag Feet or just trying to, you know, boost out Bolas' Citadel as fast as possible. So it'll be interesting to see who can do it better.
Yeah, and one thing we all noticed about Ken Yukuhiro's list is that he's only playing the 3 Skirk Prospectors, but does have those 3 copies of Ironcrag Feet. So if Skirk Prospector does get, you know, removed or something, we do have that backup in the Ironcrag Feet, which is looking very good here. He is setting himself up for turn 3 Muxus super soon, and Kowalski's going to have to deal with that.
Yeah, exactly. Ken Yukuhiro, like we said earlier, he is known for his innovation, and if he's going to play a stockish list, he's got to deviate a little bit, right? I mean, 3 Skirk Prospectors, you got to mix it up. But yeah, Ken's hand is nice here. Set up, and Kowalski does not have a fast enough hand to be able to compete with this. So I didn't think we'd be Muxusing this early in the morning already. So let's see it. Let's see it happen.
Let's do it. Ironcrag Feet on the stack. Kowalski knows what's coming up. He's just like, all right, let me see what you got. Muxus Goblin Grandy, first one of the day. The only one that we're going to see in this top 8. Whiffs. Oh, what? No! Oh, I didn't think it was possible to see another whiff, but you've brought some of Chris Kavartik's luck with you, Ken Yukuhiro. That's a feels bad.
I'm having flashbacks to Cedric's evil laugh after this whiff on the Muxus here. It's just playing right in my head here.
I can just hear him laughing in the virtual green room right now, just being like, well, you know what? You play it, sometimes it doesn't work out for you, but Kowalski's got to be breathing a sigh of relief after that.
No kidding, because Kowalski's follow-up was not even that impressive here. We do have Bolas' Citadel lined up for next turn, but Ken's draw now was really relying on this Muxus with only having 2 mountains here. Now Ken is forced with the decision, do I just play my less powerful goblins like Snoop, or do we try to sacrifice some goblins to try to get Krenko or something? And that's not a very good situation to be in this early in the game already.
It's not, but don't take away from the fact that we still have a 6/6 here for Ken Yukuhiro on turn 3 or 4, whatever it is right now. So, you know, we could still apply some pressure, but, you know, for the most part, Kowalski doesn't really care about that. He's just like, okay, sure, I have a goat. Let me put that in the way. I can sacrifice it. I can find my land. I can get my Bolas' Citadel out next turn and possibly wrap up this game.
The only thing Kowalski cares about right now is that number 18, and that is enough life right now to really start going off if Kowalski doesn't get as unlucky as Ken, and let's say, you know, have 6 land on tops and have the equivalent of a whiff off of Bolas' Citadel.
Oh, but you know what? Having that Woe Strider out is so crucial for Bolas' Citadel, just being able to scry away anything that's not, you know, able to come out onto the battlefield, so...
Exactly. That's why I say 6 whiffs on top, because that Woe Strider can manipulate so much more here. And the one thing about Bolas' Citadel compared to Muxus, Bolas' Citadel keeps on giving the next turn, even if it doesn't have the greatest turn. That is the one advantage to Bolas' Citadel compared to Muxus.
All right, well, let's see if the game will end right here. What can we find off the top of the library with Bolas' Citadel? Kowalski now in the driver's seat, claim the firstborn. Sure, let's steal some stuff. Why don't we?
Exactly. Claim is not going to be super effective in the sense that it's not going to actually steal something because of Skirk Prospector, but it is a 1-mana removal spell, which really is brutal for Ken. And everyone, let's keep an eye on the number of permanents we have in play, because now with Mayhem Devil, when you get to that magical 10 permanents, the game is over. You can sacrifice 10 things with Citadel. Oh my.
Double Mayhem Devil. Yes, please. And Blood.
That's got to just be game already. Oh,
fantastic. Yukuhiro knows. He's just like, no, I don't want any of that. Thank you. Let's go to sideboard. So blink and you'll miss it magic over in a flash. What do we do sideboards?
All right, so sideboarding with the Jund Citadel list, really what you're doing is basically what every deck does against these Goblin decks, and it takes out your medium creatures that don't affect your opponent's side of the battlefield very well, and then just bring in anything that says kill a creature. So we get Plague Mares, we get Abrades, get to take out some of these Bolas's Citadels. And that makes sense to me because if you get attacked by this Goblin deck, if you have that kind of value plan that the Goblin deck can do, just attack with a couple of Chieftains and stuff, all of a sudden you don't have a ton of life to play with the Citadel, and you never really want to draw 2 as well in these situations.
No, not at all. And also having Collected Company being diluted a little bit with these removal spells coming in, it makes sense to take out the very expensive artifact there in Bolas's Citadel.
That's a great point. A lot of people will just bring in the very powerful spells and not think, okay, my Collected Companies are getting worse. So a very smart thing to do is taking out non-creatures for non-creature permanents, so your deck isn't completely diluted.
This is such a nice looking hand here for Kowalski.
Oh, yeah.
Ooh,
yeah, everything's coming up Kowalski so far here. God, the Muxus whiffing on your first turn 3 is just so disheartening if you're a Ken fan.
Oh, man, it certainly is. And Ken's such a nice guy. You hate to see him punished, but at the same time, you brought the big bad to this tournament, Ken. Unfortunately, sometimes it's not going to go your way.
Exactly, yep. And when I say if you're a Ken fan, I mean, that's everyone, right?
Oh,
Everyone's got to be a Ken fan. He's the best.
Yeah. Ken is awesome. Getting things going here. Gilded Goose, 2 Collected Companies available here for Kowalski. We'll be able to cast them on turn 3 with the Goose, provided there's nothing else he wants to get going here. So he's got a couple of options here. Do we kill this Snoop? Do we Thoughtseize? Or do we get Blood Artist down? What would you do?
So I think I would lean on abrading the Snoop, because here's the thing. If you Thoughtseize your opponent, now all of a sudden, yeah, sure, you take one of their good cards from their hand, but you have to worry about the top of the deck as well. So it feels like you take more value from them by killing the Snoop and then Thoughtseizing later. Now, us having perfect information, we know there's another Snoop in there that's going to be able to do some damage, but I still really like that play from Kowalski.
Wily Goblin was revealed off the top of the library, gets that treasure token down on the battlefield, sets himself up quite nicely here for, accelerating the mana, getting a few bigger creatures down. But Kowalski's still looking very good here, able to Collected Company, and is going to go for it right now.
It's the Jund version of Muxus here. Let's see if Kowalski has a little bit better luck, and that's much better. That's still not great, but much better than 0 hits.
It's not amazing, but, we do set ourselves up for another Collected Company. If we didn't find another land, but never mind, there's a Goblin Chain Whirler, so goodbye. Luckily, the Goose lives.
That's not great. Chain Whirler, a 3/3 body that says essentially counter target Collected Company is not ideal, but luckily we have another one here and the mana to cast it.
We do. Mayhem Devil off the top there. That's something. Now, I wanted to ask you something quickly, Corey, about Collected Company. How often do you find yourself playing on your upkeep? Casting on your upkeep? Ever or not really? What do you think about that?
I don't think there's really a reason to, unless you have some information. Let's say you have scryed a very powerful creature to the top with a Woe Strider, then you guarantee a hit. But for the most part, I would imagine there are more Collected Companies cast at your opponent's end step than your upkeep, just because you also want to get perfect information from your own side before you cast Collected Company.
All right. Thank you for that. Thoughtseize now taking a look in the hand, finds Redcap melee. Doesn't like the look of that, considering there's a Mayhem Devil in hand, so that's going to get sent to the rubbish bin.
Exactly. And here's the thing that Kowalski is super happy about. There is really a ton of time before Muxus could even possibly be in play. And Kowalski, like he said in his interview here, feels pretty good about any aggro matchups because of Mayhem Devil.
Yeah.
And the real way that Kowalski loses is with these crazy over-the-top Muxus turns, and when Kowalski has a lot of time to stall essentially until Ken can even do that, he just gets to start picking away at creatures, and it's a lot easier to win these combat battles instead of just the over-the-top thing that Ken's deck can do.
Yeah. Well, combat we have now with Goblin Chieftain down buffing our Chain Whirler and everything else across the battlefield. Gets in for 4, so down to 12 goes Kowalski. Blood Artist and Collected Company at his disposal.
Yeah, I'm interested here to see why he's always casting it during his turn. It makes sense that you would want to try to ambush block during your opponent's turn, but I guess Kowalski's deck doesn't actually block very well. He has a lot of elves, he has a lot of woe striders. He doesn't have any super powerful creatures that can line up against a 4/4 first striker.
It's usually the goat that's getting in the way, let's be honest. That little guy is the goat, the greatest of all time, good at blocking everything and takes one for the team every single time. I love him.
Speaking of goats, we have so many goats in this top 8. It is going to be really hard to root for your favorites here. There's just so many good players.
I love this attack here from Kowalski. Recognizes that, we don't really have great blockers, so let's attack, and we can sacrifice the goat or the goose to clear off both of these creatures should there be a double block here from Ken.
Yeah, I wouldn't imagine the block button would any creatures would be put in front of that Mayhem Devil here. Pretty easy for Kowalski to make that a pretty bad play. A fun fact about this top 8, we have 7 players that are in the Rivals or MPL League in this top 8. That is quite impressive.
That is. And then we have David looking to undo everybody's status, just being like, yo, I'm the best player here kind of thing.
Exactly.
Good old underdog story. We love to see it. We also love to see matchups like this when both players are sitting staring at each other's battlefields going, okay, what do we do next?
Yeah, makes sense to get that Goblin Chain Whirler in here. Pretty impossible to figure out a way that can be killed in combat. Some Mayhem Devil triggers here might be able to clean up that Chieftain. I wouldn't be too shocked if we see like a block from the goat, like you were saying, sacrifice it to scry a card, and then and deal 1 damage to Goblin Chieftain, and then end step getting rid of the goose to finish it off and scry 1 more time to maybe find something powerful like Bolas's Citadel or Collected Company.
Yeah, either of those 2 spells would be really, really good here. Priest of Forgotten Gods gets a little worse as this game goes on. Especially if there's a Cranko that can just pump out as many tokens as needs be. But we do have Mayhem Devil down in conjunction, so it's a bit of a toss-up here. Do we want to go for this? Hope it doesn't die to a Gem Palm Incinerator, or do we want to keep digging?
Yeah, that's interesting here because, as I said, the last sentence there, Bolas's Citadel is actually not a good draw because you do only have 2 black. Yes. But I like Priest here just for the sense that you can sacrifice a couple of creatures, get that Woe Strider into the graveyard, and I don't know the exact graveyard count, but we got to be getting close to being able to escape it back.
Yeah.
And that's just another activation. That's essentially drawing you 2 cards over the course of 2 turns. So I like keeping the Priest here against the Goblin deck.
Nice. Conspicuous Snoop on the stack. We'll be able to take a look at the top of the library. We're going to get a sacrifice here just to prevent any Cranko Snoop shenanigans, as it will be given haste.
I was going to say that is a very heads-up play from Kowalski, and there's only one thing that would punish him from not doing this, and that's if a Cranko was on top. But that's probably the better card to have on top. We're still a little ways away from casting that. We only have 4 mana on Ken's side, but I mean, depending on if Muxus actually hits, that's a good draw.
Yeah. Soon, TM, as we now have Priest of Forgotten Gods and Blood Artist. Blood Artist has actually been very impressive in these Jund decks and the matches that we've seen this weekend. Just closing out games, having multiple of them down, or just having, Blood Artist with the Mayhem Devil or the Cat, anything like that. It's just so much value. So much damage it does.
So much damage. It's unreal. And even here, we're going to see Ken go down to 12. If we have Blood Artist and Priest to the battlefield, each creature represents 2 damage up until you have to sacrifice one of the Blood Artists. So the last one will only represent 1. But that is 4, 5, 6, 7 damage already on the battlefield. So Ken is at effectively 5 already here. And we haven't even seen anything too crazy from Kowalski.
No, the deck is just, doing its thing, slowly ramping up to the big stuff.
Exactly.
But even so, it can get this game over and done with in a couple of turns if his draws line up.
And we see a mountain on top here for Ken, so that will represent the 5th mana. But what we really need to see on top after that is something like a Skirk Prospector to be able to play it off the Snoop and then cast Muxus. As it stands now, Muxus still will not be able to be cast next turn unless we get a little lucky from the top of the deck.
Yeah, and also Priest of Forgotten Gods just represents a clock for these creatures. Some of them are going to die.
Yeah, exactly. And when you add Priest of the Forgotten God math into me saying that Ken was at 5, the Priest adds 2, and then when your opponent sacrifices a creature, that adds damage with Mayhem Devil and Bloodthirst as well. So Ken is at effective 1 life right now. So any bit of combat damage across, or even a creature, is going to wrap this up next turn already. And then just move Gregor Kowalski already to the semifinals of the upper bracket. That is just impressive.
That's a good day for him.
Yeah, no kidding.
Good start to it for sure. There's a Thoughtseize. Hello. This
is really reminding me of our start for day 2 yesterday, where he's playing against Yvonne Flock and he had 7 lands in hand on like turn 15 at one point.
Oh, that was rough, but let's not think about that.
Yes. But to be fair, this is probably one of the worst draws that Kowalski has, and one of the very few draws that does not just give him the win.
Yeah.
But based on how many cards we have in the graveyard, though, being able to escape Woe Strider, we might still just have it if you sack the Woe Strider and Llanowar Elf to Priest. We might still have lethal this turn.
Well, here we go. Second time.
He's going pretty fast here. I think he sees it.
Yeah, he knows. He's like, I'm going to go for it. Ken Yukuhiro sees the writing on the wall, and Kowalski picks up the very first victory of the day here in our upper quarters. Congratulations, Kowalski.